Hi, I'm Danny and these are my Diecast Disasters. And in this video I'm going to be customizing this Maisto 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air gasser and a Ford C600 ramp truck. It doesn't say it's a C600, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So there it is out of the packaging. We'll take a closer look at it before we move on. So here's our little Bel Air gasser. It's actually on the large side for a 1/64th scale model, and it's put together a little bit unusually. It's got screws instead of rivets or posts, so that makes it easy. I'll unscrew those. Now you'll see how it's put together a little bit differently. There's the chassis there. It's got the pipes on it as well. And there's another piece with the wheel wells in it. And the interior, that's actually made up of a few pieces. And the windscreen. Quite a nicely detailed model. Doesn't weigh a lot though. You'd sort of expect it to weigh a decent amount, but it's quite light. So you can see the front and rear bumper and grille are separate plastic pieces, and they're held on with little plastic rods. The ends have been heated over, so I'll just use my craft knife there to cut them off, and then they pop out. So there's the Bel Air disassembled. Now the Ford ramp truck. Again, it's held together with screws. There's one at the front here and two at the back. It's all plastic pretty much, apart from the cab of the truck. Again, it's nice, detailed, and quite sturdy construction, but it's not very heavy. Quite a light toy. So there's the ramp off the back, and then the cab. It's got a couple of little lights notched in the front there. And the interior, it's stuck into a couple of tubes there. Let's take that screw out. And then the windscreen and that top orange light sort of been welded over inside. So I'm going to have to remove a little welded area. I'm just using a round burr on my Dremel. I'll grind it away carefully. There we go, there's the orange light off. And now, even though it's quite a tight fit, I should be able to pop the window out. There it goes. Right, so there's the windscreen and the little light. Not going to be reusing that anyway, but there it goes. And the cab, that's a one piece. Next I use some paint stripper and remove the paint from the two castings. And then they get cleaned up further with the wire brush on my Dremel. Okay, so here's the body of our Bel Air gasser. It's quite a nice casting. It's a little bit rough around inside those window lines, though. Again, the top of the front window there. Notice it doesn't have the second pillar, the smoker window there at the front. It's because it is on the windscreen. Anyway, I gave the rough windows a bit of a clean up on a file. Now I'm test fitting the rear bumper there, and here's where the front bumper would go, of course, if it would bother to go in there. Anyway, it doesn't matter that much because I'm not going to be leaving it on there. I'm going to be removing it. You can see there's those two tabs sticking out with the holes. I'm going to be cutting those off. And there we go. I'll use my Dremel to remove them. Here it is, reassembled again with the chassis on. You can see how it'll look without the grill and stuff on there. You can still see the pillar post through there, so I'll have to cover that up. So I'm going to pop the tyres off, and I thought that these wheels would just pull off with a good firm pull, but they actually must be melted on there or something, because there was no way that they were coming off. So yeah, I removed the tyres and I'm just leaving the wheels on there. I'll work around them. You can see the rims spin on those axles, but there's no way that you can pull them off. Here I've stuck a little moon tank and a bit of framing on the front there. Those were little fuel tanks they'd put on the front, apparently for easy access, or they were easy to fill, and they were using the cars as drag cars, so they were only doing like one pass and they didn't need a huge tank. And there I've glued on that little grill sort of thing there and drilled some holes through it so the air can get through. Right, now I can start painting. Starting out with the body casting, I've hit it with a light coat of grey primer from a can just to help the paint stick better. Then I've given it a base coat of German red, brown and orange. Sprayed the orange lightly over the top of the red, brown. Then I mask off the little white wings at the rear. Then I've spray painted those white. There it is with the masking removed. Let's see it unfortunately pulled off a chunk of the undercoat, which can happen of course. I'll fix that later. So here I've used some liquid mask to mask off the white sections. And there I've just resprayed over that section where it tore off, patch it up. Then I also mask off the roof using some masking tape and some more liquid mask. And then the rest of it is spray painted black. There it is with the masking removed. Next I mask around the window frames. And then I'll just use some tissue to mask the rest of it. And I spray paint the roof red. So there's the masking removed again. We've got our base 3-tone paint job. Next I'm going to use some 2000 grit sandpaper and very lightly sand away some of the top layers of paint so you can see the rust undercoat underneath. Here it is after I've finished the sanding. Next I detail in all of the silver trims and the lights, the door handles, etc., the window frames there. Then I apply a black wash, it's just a pin wash along the panel lines. Here is the chassis section. Started out with a black primer. Next it was painted all silver, and I'm just painting over the wheels. Doesn't matter, they're just going to be the same colour anyway, pretty much. And then I applied a black wash over all of that. Here it is after that's dried. Now I'm going to use a sponge to apply some rust chipping all over it. I'm using again the German red brown and some orange. And I've basically just used the same technique to do this other wheel well section and the rear bumper. Here's the interior. I've taken it apart pretty much. There goes the dash off as well. You can see the seats come out and the steering wheel. It's quite handy for painting it. So to detail this, I start out with a base coat of silver, and then I just detailed the seats in black and painted the little tank and stuff there. The seats were hit with an undercoat of white primer, then painted red. I've just painted in a black safety harness there, and there's the interior back together. I've painted that chrome steering wheel black as well. So here's all the parts of our little Bel Air gasser rusted up and ready to go back together. So I'll put those aside for now. We can move on with the truck. I'm not going to be keeping the orange light on top of it. I thought it looked dreadful actually. I use some epoxy putty to patch it up. It's a little piece of masking tape on the inside there. And then once that is cured, I can file and sand it down smooth. And here's the ramp section. I'll just remove the ramp from that. Slides up and down. And then sand off the tampos on the side. They sort of usually stick out a little bit, so if you paint it over, you can see them. Sand them smooth. There we go, now that's ready for some paint. I'll start out with a coat of black primer. And next I painted it silver. Then I've painted some rust on around the lower section, so I wanted some sort of raw metal up the top where it would be more worn, and rustier down the bottom. So you can see I've painted over that again with black, and I'm using my 2000 grit sandpaper to sand back the black paint and expose the rust and the steel metal underneath. So I've gone quite heavy there. Now I'm going to use a sponge and some more black paint and sponge on some more black. So I sort of maybe sanded back a bit heavy, but also this will give a chipped paint appearance as well as the sanded paint. It's nice to have a mixture of both. Here's some little logos I've printed for the side. Gassy Alley gases. There, I've cut them out. They're just printed on A4 paper, and I think I'm using 400 grit sandpaper here. Carefully sand the back side of them back as much as I can, get them as thin as I can so they're just about see-through. Then I use some watered down PVA glue to apply them onto the sides of my ramp. And to finish it off, I'm just going to use the sponge again to apply just a very small amount of heavier rust chipping. I'll do a few blobs here and there on the signage as well. And here's the sliding section of the ramp. Again, this was hit with black primer and then silver. Then I applied quite a heavy black wash. And again, applying some rust with a sponge. And I actually thought that black wash had dried properly here, but it still seems to be a bit wet and sort of mixing with the rust a little bit, but that's no problem as it gave quite a nice effect. Okay, here's the chassis of the truck, and again, there's no way those wheels are coming off of there. So I'll just remove the tyres and just paint around them. So I painted all over it with some silver, and then I spray painted black over the top of those front wheel wells there and the front bumper section. Next I applied some black wash over the wheels and all of the still exposed silver sections, and applied some rust. added a little custom gassy license plate at the front there. Here's the cab. Again, I've started this with the rust base coat. Next I use some masking tape to tape off around the roof section, and that was spray painted white. A tiny bit of overspray, but it doesn't matter at all. Then I masked off the white roof using liquid mask, and the rest of it was painted red, and then over the top with really watered down white. It was left a sort of pool. It was very watery, and that'll give it a sort of faded effect when it dries. Again, I use the sandpaper to sand back the top layer, exposing some more rust underneath. You can see a bit of the paint chipped away there, but again, it's no worries. Patch it up with some heavier rust chipping here and there. I paint in all of the details and the silver lights there on the roof, and the door handles, front grille, the side mirrors. And then it's time for the black pin washing along the panel lines. I also put a wash over all of the silver details in the grille and around the mirrors, etc. And just to finish it off, I've printed out some little gassy alley gasser decals. Stuck one across the front there and one on each door. Just hopefully looks like a little hand painted signs. Here's the interior. It's just two pieces. The steering wheel pops out there. So to detail this, it was hit with white primer, then painted red, same red as the cab, and I detailed the seats in black, and also the handbrake and gear stick, etc. there. I've just left the steering wheel black. Right, so here's all the parts of our Ford C600 ramp truck, rusted up and ready to go back together. So I'll just reassemble those and we'll take a quick look back at what we started with. As always, a massive shout out to my Patreons. Thanks so much for the support. Link in the description below if you want to help out as well. Thanks heaps for watching this video. Really hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more similar stuff, and check out my other channel, Danny's Driving Disasters, for more of my content. There's a link down below as well.